right, welcome everyone. Chris Petrie here again. We're having a great time. We're going to be creating this beautiful landscape painting along with some water in this painting. This might be like more of a coastal scene. We're having a great time. We're going to actually do the glazing technique. I'm going to explain everything from how you start your glazing technique, from doing your pencil drawing first, your light wash second, your middle tones, your middle lighter washes second, and then your darkest dark washes thirdly. So you're going to actually go step by step through this whole painting. I think you'll be able to create this painting really, really successfully as you go through. As long as you're kind of following along as we go, step by step, you should have no problem. Again, we're explaining all the colors. I use my standard Schmincke palette, so you're going to have this palette we're going to be working with. We're going to have all the colors listed, or, colors. We're going to talk about all the colors, have them shown in the palette as we're mixing them. So you'll have everything here that you need. All your colors, your pencil drawing first, and then as we go wash by wash through three glazings, basically light wash first, middle tone second, and then lastly our darker washes. You'll see how everything is put together as we go. You'll have fun, you'll enjoy it. So let's get started. Let's not waste any time. All right, so we just saw the finished painting, and we're going to actually go right through the process here of how we're going to get this beautiful landscape style painting completed. And I think the main thing here we're going to do is we're going to kind of just focus in on the glazing technique. We're going to do the really beautiful light washes first, and then we'll go over with our darker washes on top. That'll really be a beautiful way to create this painting. It seems to be that style of a painting where you really kind of just want to get some really great washes, some beautiful colorful washes on your paper, light washes all the way across, let it dry 100%, and then come back over and start doing the darker darks on top. And I think that's the real fun of the glazing technique, is actually just seeing a painting like a landscape painting and realizing that that's really the best way to kind of work on a landscape painting many times. Not always, but again, you're the artist. You have to kind of decide, again, when you're painting, you have to decide your methods and techniques of what you're going to do when you're actually either looking at a photograph, or if you're working from some books, or maybe you're outdoor in plein air, or maybe you have something, on your laptop or your iPhone or your phone or your electronic device that you want to work from, whatever it is that you're working from. I usually just say, try to just kind of look at it and whatever, type of information it is, and say, does that look like that is more of a painting I want to kind of do a glazing technique method, which is get that really light wash of glazing over the whole painting first, let it dry, and then go over with darker. Or maybe it's a painting that looks like it's better off doing it like the alla prima method, which is just going in and getting the darks first and then just working out from there. So you have to kind of decide that. And if you work with both of those techniques, the glazing technique and the alla prima technique, you'll kind of be able to amalgamate the two techniques into one. And then sometimes you use both at the same time. You'll use one or the other. And again, it's just all up to you. It's your artwork. You're going to figure out how you want to create your paintings and so forth. So just wanted to leave that bit of information here in the beginning so we can kind of use that as our jumping off point into the painting. So we decided here we're going to do the glazing technique. Let's get started. We'll do our drawing first, and maybe we'll just kind of create, a nice, beautiful landscape. You saw the finished painting already, so we're already set that way. And then maybe this painting, it's going to wind up maybe the division point for the painting might be about halfway. So a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, we shouldn't make a painting, a division in, like, let's say the horizon line where the mountains are, the hills, in the center of the painting. Sometimes they say, a lot of artists and a lot of people that are critics or people like that might say, yeah, you really kind of don't want to make your painting split right in the middle, because it does kind of have it just seems to not have an optimal feel, but sometimes it does look good that way too. So you have to kind of figure that out too. That's another question you have to ask yourself. Is it going to look better if I move the horizon line here up, or am I going to move it down a little bit, have a larger sky? Or maybe you're going to have some larger foreground and water here in the bottom of the painting. So I thought that probably here it's going to be better if I maybe make my horizon line a little bit higher in the picture and then go from there. I think that might be better. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say, all right, here's the halfway point of my painting. So I'm going to want to make sort of the main information along the horizon line of the painting about here. So then I'll just make a little line here, a little hash mark, and say, okay, that's going to sort of be my, this hash mark here is going to be my point that I'm going to go across the painting and just put a light pencil line and say, that's about where I kind of want to make my mountains or hills and distant mountain and hills and buildings, whatever it is, at that point there, the three quarters up the painting, or let's say even 2/3 maybe. So it's a little bit above halfway though, I would say. So I just moved it up a little bit from halfway across. I should say from halfway here, from top to bottom of this composition, halfway is about here, roughly. And I decided to move it up a little bit here, so the undulating distant buildings are going to be up here a little higher, and then we'll have a little bit of more larger area of water and some trees and branches and marshy areas and water reflections and things like that. So let's kind of key in on that, and this is what we're going to do now. So we'll go in here and I'll start making my distant hills and things over here. Okay, this is going to be a building here in the distance. Okay, so we're just going to have some, this could be a large building, a factory, something like that. There's some other buildings over here. So I'm just going to make some other building shapes over here. Like that. Some rooftops, things like that. So you can kind of pencil in some stuff like this, you know, some rooftops. Like this. Okay, and there's some hills and things too. Okay, so that is our distant information there. And then maybe over here, we're going to come down this way a little bit too, and there might be some more information here. Maybe these are other buildings here. They're a little more in the foreground here. So I'm just going to kind of pencil these in. These are some buildings. Just want to try to, I'm kind of improvising here, just getting some shapes of buildings. Hopefully this is going to look okay. Like this here. Maybe this here I'm going to leave a little bit more straight like that. Maybe that's there. Okay. And then maybe over here there's another couple buildings over here. Okay, like that. So I'm just improvising, making some building shapes. You can take your time and really have fun and work out some. But these are just basically triangles for the roof, for the gable edges of the roof here, the gable ends of the roof, and then the roof itself here, where the eaves are across here. Kind of a basic shapes of some rooftops and buildings. Nothing too fancy, and then some bushes and trees along the buildings here and there. Maybe some areas won't have bushes and trees. Maybe they'll. But again, the basics are getting some buildings in. You can create any buildings you want. You can create. This might be more of like an industrial area. Maybe these are. Maybe this is like along the water, and these are some like boating, like marinas and things like that. So I'm thinking more of a marina kind of style. These are marinas. These are like boat, areas where they're going to be repairing the boats, shops, marinas, things like this along the water. And again, we're going to add some water to this too. So then here, as we get closer in the picture to the foreground this way, then we're going to start making some bushes and trees like this along here. And again, it's just a matter of making some shapes. So I'm just making some shapes across here that I'm going to add some bushes and marshy type things and trees. And over here, we're going to have a tree over here, maybe up this way. We'll kind of create a couple tree shapes here. Maybe there's a tree over here. Maybe we'll make a little bit of an outcropping of some land over here. This is really in the close areas of the very, very closest portion of the painting to us, the foreground. This is the real foreground here, where if we're standing here looking in this scene, we're going to be like standing here, or maybe in a boat, like a little rowboat or something, or a boat. And this is going to be right where we're sitting in the boat here, or maybe walking along the shore here. And the rest we're going to start to see in the far distance here. And then maybe over here we're going to see like a tree coming up, and we might just make some tree shapes here. Some branches. And it might be like winter time, so there's no leaves on it. Or you might make a few leaves on it here and there. It's up to you. And there might be another bit of some tree over here and tree limbs like this. And we'll have fun. But that'll really kind of push the rest of these distant buildings in the far distance. That'll putting these foreground trees in, these limbs and the trunks of these trees. And even over here too, adding this is going to add a little more feeling of three-dimensional quality to your painting. That's going to be really important. You want to have three-dimensional quality. And then here, as we see this part of the bushes and water areas, and you'll also see another area here too, an outcropping of some more bushes and marshy weeds and things along the water. So we're going to do that too as well. And I'll make that kind of an interesting part of the painting. We'll do some, again, just some marks, pencil marks on some of these things here. We're going to paint in most of this information. And you can also, too, when you create your drawings, you can always erase a little bit if you want. Lighten up some of the pencil lines just so that you know you're going to paint most of this with your paintbrush, and you're not really going to be so like interested in filling in all the lines, so to speak. So you have more freedom if you kind of just have a lighthearted feeling about your pencil drawing, right? So as you're doing your pencil drawing, we're getting that important pencil drawing in to kind of get everything where we sort of want everything in the painting and the composition. But then once we're done with the pencil drawing, then we can even lighten up and lift up a few of the pencil lines, because we don't want to kind of feel like we're, again, filling in pencil lines when we're painting. We want to have a little more freedom when we're painting. So that's just an idea here. But we will use the pencil lines, again, to give us a good, solid structure to the painting itself. So we have some interesting reflections here. So we'll do some reflections in the water of this outcropping here of some bushes and weeds and things and twigs and stuff like that. So we'll just do a little bit of that here, reflecting down in the water. Same thing with here. This is going to reflect down in the water. This will go this way a little bit, so that's going to go that way. This one goes about straight down. Just so we have some, again, your pencil lines will kind of give you your basic course that you need to follow when you're doing your painting. And then from there, you can, again, adjust if you want and have fun and be a little more loose with your paintings. Okay, so good. We have our pencil lines in here. Good. We are ready to paint, so let's not delay. Let's get our water bucket clean, fresh clean water, clean out our water bucket. Our palette is now already cleaned up, so we're all good to go, ready to paint with our palette. I might spritz the palette a little bit with some water with a spritzer bottle. I buy these Holbein spritzer bottles. They're great. You just fill them up with clean water and you spritz your palette once in a while you're painting and before you put it away. And I'll put some bottled water, fresh, clean bottled water into my water container. So I just have a regular Holbein water container. I put fresh, clean water in that, set it over here on the right-hand side. And then we'll have some brushes here. I'm going to use round brushes exclusively. So I'm going to use maybe 3 size round brushes. These are all Sable brushes. There's my Charles Reed travel brushes I have, and then I have a Da Vinci Maestro for the largest brush here, number 12 Da Vinci Pure Kolinsky travel brush. So these are the 3 brushes I have. I also might use a detail brush too here. And this is actually the Da Vinci travel brush that's all synthetic. So this comes with the Schmincke palette. So if you buy Schmincke palette, it comes with one of these beautiful travel brushes, and these are great because you can just spin off this here when you're done painting. If you're out someplace painting, you can put this together like this. It's got a hole in the top for air, so your brush will dry, and you can put this in your purse, your pocketbook, your shirt pocket, whatever it is, and there's not going to be any problem as long as you just take your brush, rinse it off in fresh, clean water, and then stow it away in your travel brush. You're going to be fine. And so that's why I like these so much, because I can just stash them in my pocket or in my duffel bag, whatever it is I'm using, my backpack, and I have it. And so these are all travel brushes actually, and the Charles Reed travel brushes are great too. These are a little more quicker. You just lift off like that, and that's it. And then you have the top again, the hole in the top for the brush hairs to dry. When you're ready to paint the next time, you just lift apart like that, and you have your brush ready to go. So let's get ready to paint in just a second, okay? I'm just going to get some fresh, clean water. I have to find my bottled water across the studio, and I'll fill up my container, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so our first part, our pencil sketch, our pencil drawing done. We're good to go. Next thing we're going to do is mix up some colors in our palette first. It tends to be a really good process to mix your colors first, kind of get most of what you need in your palette first, and then you add it into your onto your paper. Once you have your colors, pretty much mixed up into your palette. So that's what we're going to do first thing, and we're going to mix up and say what's our color going to be? What's the color scheme of the painting going to be? And I'm mentioning this because it's really important. You can make a painting cool and make it a lot of blue, add a lot of blue to your painting, and you'll have more of a cooler painting. If you want to make it a more warmer painting, like maybe you want to make it feel like it's a summertime, hazy summertime warm feel, which we're going to do now. You can you add a little more like warmer colors, like maybe a little bit of orange and yellow ochre. So if you add some golden colors, some orangey golden colors, some reds in there, you'll make more of a warmer painting, a warmer underwash, or our first glazing. You do a warmer kind of wash there, you're going to have a warmer type painting. If you want to make it a little cooler, maybe it's winter time, something like that, well, you can add a little more blue and less warmer colors like orange and blue. So let's make this a warmer painting. So we're going to kind of take that into consideration here, and we're going to start mixing in our raw sienna, which is a golden yellow ochre color, pretty close to yellow ochre. And then maybe we'll add a touch of alizarin crimson in there too to make it like a reddish gold color. And you can kind of mix that like so across there. Add some water into it. The first wash is going to be a light wash, so you wouldn't want to go with really super thick paint. Does that make sense? So your first wash is going to be a light wash, so you want light looking color. You don't want to have thick, goopy paint in your palette when you're doing your first glazing. You want to have light, very, very light washes with a lot of water and just a little bit of paint like that. So that's going to be our warmer color. And of course, we are going to do some blue. We want some cool colors too in this. We don't want to have it all warm, so we'll have some blue in there. French ultramarine, a little bit of this is cerulean blue. So you're gonna have cerulean blue, a little bit of French ultramarine blue, maybe a touch of purple too would look great. Ultramarine violet there, like on this side over here. So you kind of mix them together, but not fully. You want to leave some So we have some French ultramarine there, cerulean in the middle, and then some purple over here. So you kind of leave them a little bit, separate. You don't want to have all the colors just completely mixed together. You want to kind of leave the colors identifiable. And then again here we can do the same thing by adding some more raw sienna there. Maybe some more of the red here. And that should be good. So we have our warm and cool, all right? That is really going to make a good painting. And then also, too, let's add a little bit of green, because we are going to have quite a bit of green grasses and weeds and things like this in the foreground over here in these areas. So when we're making our whole complete first glazing, let's mix in some greens in there, too, just to remember to harmonize our colors. So it's not going to be a lot we're going to mix into this first wash, but we will put a little bit of green into that first wash. So you'll kind of see how I do it as I go. And this is like a process. But the first thing I do want to say is let's remember our colors are, something that we want to definitely think about ahead of time. And make sure that we have them all. And I put a little bit of burnt sienna up here. So this is kind of like what we want, our warm and cool colors. You have your warm colors up here, your cool colors down here, and this is like, I consider this a cool color. Green is to me cool for the most part, most times. So that's it. We have our paints all ready to go. And then another thing we can do is with our fresh, clean water that we have in our palette, we can just start adding some damp wash to the paper. Doesn't have to be everywhere, but you definitely want to add some fresh, clean water across your painting like this. Fresh, clean water, and just put it on the paper. You don't have to flood the paper, tremendously. Just, enough to get some damp paper going. So you want your paper to be damp, basically, your whole paper to be damp. And then I would say you could put a little extra water up in the sky. Sporadically, though. I wouldn't put it everywhere heavy. Add some little bits of heavier water here and there, but not everywhere. So, that's going to give you a good effect of some, you're going to have some interesting happenings going on in your painting if you add a little bit of extra water here and there, but not everywhere. Okay, there we go. Now, we're going to start to go in with our warm colors first, like that. Just get some of those warm colors going across here. And then get them right on down to here, all the way across the whole painting, warm colors. Then get your cool colors too. Mix some cool up in here too. So that's what we want to do. You want to mix your warm and cool colors together as you go. Okay. And that's all you have to remember, just to get that warm and cool effect across the whole paper. Okay, a little more of that red, and then raw sienna. A little bit of yellow ochre. There we go. Kind of that reddish orange. And again, we got that blue up there looking really good. And I had some kind of problem here on my paper. I don't know what happened. My paper must be, I don't know what happened to my paper here. Something went wrong with my paper. I don't know if I spilled something on my paper or... But I noticed there's some, you can see that, these like, I don't know what happened there. I don't remember doing anything on my paper or my palette or my table here that would cause this to happen, but this is something I must have spilled something on. I must have been working on my art table here, my art table here. I must have been working on it and spilled something on my paper or something like that happened, because this never happens to my paper. So that's one of those things you have to deal with when you're doing artwork. So what I'll do is I'll try to blot up a little bit. But the main thing is when that does happen, something like this happens, you wouldn't worry about it in the least. What you would do is just say to yourself, okay, there is a problem here. Something spilled on my paper. Something happened. I don't know what it is. But the main thing is we still have a lot of paper here that still looks great and fine. So we'll just trim out that bit of paper that is kind of having a problem. Something spilled on there. I don't know what it is. But we'll trim the paper down and make it smaller. So we're going to make our painting smaller when we're done here. So I always want to encourage you, if you ever have problems with your paintings, never worry about it. Just step back and say to yourself, all right, what's the next logical solution to this issue? Well, the issue is, what's the issue, the problem? Well, the problem is something got onto my paper somehow, some way. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to worry about it right now, what it is. Maybe I'll think about it later and say, oh, I know what it was. I think I used some spray or some cleaner over on my table here and it got onto my paper. I don't know what it is. But thing is, okay, well, what can I do about it? Well, right now, we spent all this time doing a wonderful drawing, right? And we spent all this time mixing our washes, and we got this on the paper. We wouldn't let this ruin our painting. We would just say, we're just going to finish the whole process, finish the painting out, and then we trim out all this cruddy looking stuff around the outside edges of this thing that just happened to appear and we don't know what it is. Don't worry about things like this, okay, everybody? So always remember that. There's always a way around these types of issues. So even if you made a mistake on one side of your painting, you would do the same thing. If I made a mistake on one side of the painting, it came out really terrible, then I would just trim my paper down and trim out the problem I had on the one side of the painting, and the rest of the painting probably looks fine. So that's the kind of same thing as cropping is a big thing. I always think about it and mention it to everybody. Cropping is a great way to crop out. And what I say by crop is, if you have let's see if I can find something here. There we go. If you can think about it this way, if you have a painting and something goes wrong on the outer edges of your painting, or you make a mistake on one side of your painting or the other, or up top or on the bottom, all you do is you just go in and say, I'm going to make the painting smaller. And then you do that. And look at that. See, now we can trim out all that other stuff that happened, and it's not even a consideration or a thought. We don't worry about it. So always remember that. And then we can just maybe paint in another tree over here if we want to add a really cool looking tree over here like that we did. We drew in a really cool looking, trunk of a tree and some twigs and branches and really nice looking detail here. We'll just move it over this way. So I'm just going to move some stuff over this way once we start painting. But we might be able to we'll keep that in there like that. I think that's fine. And then we can move it over this way. So you can make a custom mat too. You can order custom size mats to fit your paintings exactly the size you need them. That's another thing I forgot to mention to you. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that before, but you can go onto the internet and there's many art supply stores that sell framing products, like frames for paintings and mats for framing for paintings. And you can actually take a mat like this and have it cut exactly to the sizes that you want. And you can say, I need one that is 12 by 9.5 or 12 by 9. Reason I say that is we're going to paint a lot of interesting detail over here on the right side. And if this mat is not large enough, well, then you're going to need to order a custom mat or see if there's one that you can get that's going to fit just right. So that, another thing too you can do is measure exactly the area that you have that looks great. Jot down those measurements, like 8 by 10. And then you find the closest thing to 8 by 10 as you can find. Maybe there's like a 9 by 10. Well, you would take that. Or an 8 by 10, and there might be something like a 7 by 10. Well, you would take the 7 by 10 mat that you could purchase, a pre-cut mat that's not even custom cut. So I'm talking about mats here. Let's say this is a stock mat, and it doesn't quite give you enough. You want to have more of your painting showing than what this stock size mat is, or this standard size mat is. Well, you can go online and search and see if there's something that has the window a little bit larger. So you can do that. And then what you would do is just order the largest one you can, without losing as much of the painting that you have created as possible. So I guess what I'm saying is you're going to try to, whenever you're going to buy a mat online, if you're going to purchase a mat and a frame online, especially for your matting, if you're going to do some mats, you would just try to get the largest one you can that's going to give you the most, kind of like show most of the painting that you have. If it's a little bit smaller, you might have to move it around and adjust a little bit and say, okay, I'm going to sacrifice over here and I'll leave it over this way. And then I'll lose this stuff over here on the left side. Or maybe I'll leave it over here and I'll lose some of the stuff on the right side. So if you're painting like I do and you kind of just paint and you go for it and enjoy your paintings, and then the next thing you know, if you're going to go to mat these and frame these, you might have to make, a little bit of sacrifice and say, oh, I got to trim out some of the painting and remove some of the painting because it won't fit in the window that you're looking for, unless you order a custom mat, which you can do. If you want to order, it's a little bit more expensive, but you can actually order a custom size mat exactly the size you need it. You might say, I want a border of 2 inches on my mat all the way around, and I want the opening to be, and you give them that dimension of the exact opening you want for your mat, the viewable opening. And they'll give you that mat. They'll give you the exact viewable opening you need, plus 2 inches all the way around the whole entire mat. So you can't order custom mats. I just mentioned that because if you have a painting that comes out great and you don't want to lose a whole bunch, you don't want to start trimming out and removing a whole bunch of the painting that you created, well, that's how you do it. You just order that custom mat. Or you can even decide to not use a mat at all, and you can just frame it with a backboard and then you just trim your painting down to the size you want it and then put it right on top of a backboard, like a foam backboard or even a piece of matting paper. We'll go into some framing ideas too. I know I went on a little bit of a tangent here. We'll go over some framing ideas on one of my next videos. I don't think I've ever done a video on framing, but I think I should do one because I know many of you, you're creating beautiful paintings. I want you all to put them in frames, mat them, frame them, show them, put them on your walls, enter a few into some competitions locally. If you have some local art galleries that might have competitions or contests, or they just might have, where you can donate your paintings as donate your paintings to an art community, and they sell them for charities and things like that. So you can do all kinds of fun stuff with your artwork, and you could take it way beyond what we do here on YouTube, because YouTube's great and fun and we have an awesome time, but you can also do a lot more too with your artwork. You can have more fun, so use it as a social thing to do for fun. You can go out to a local art places that might have art schools and classes, and you might have some networking too. Local artists might sometimes network and things like that. So you can have a lot of fun doing that. Or enter again into galleries. You can do a lot of fun stuff. So I hope I didn't get too far along here on another trail off what we're supposed to be doing here, but we need this to dry anyway, so that's what we're doing. We're letting this dry. Again, the glazing technique, you're letting this whole painting dry for that first wash, and then once that first wash is completely 100% dry, then we go over on a second wash to get those medium tones in, and then as we get the medium tonal values into this painting completed, then the last thing we do is we do the darkest darks. The most vibrant and dark colors, those go in last. And we'll show you the whole process here. We've already started it. We've already gone, really far into the painting itself, the glazing technique, how you get everything started like we just did. Also, too, we just did a little bit of information on matting and framing, and I want to do some more videos on matting and framing. If you think you would like some more videos, maybe perhaps on some matting and framing ideas and how you can do these type of things, let me know in the comments section. Give me thumbs up. If you give me a thumbs up on this video, I'll kind of know that that's what you mean. If you see thumbs up, if I see a lot of thumbs up and you give me a thumbs up because you want to see more information about matting your paintings, trimming them down, how to order, all those type of things, let me know. I'll do a couple videos on that too. I want to make sure everyone is getting the information you need on my channel to help you to just keep, enjoying the watercolor journey, the watercolor process, all the fun that we have. It's more than just painting and drawing. You can do a lot of other things. I'll also cover some more things in the future, maybe about matting and framing, and also maybe giving your paintings to a local gallery for charities or for maybe competitions, things like this. And okay, so we'll just get started in a second or two with our second glazing, our medium tonal values. Again, you'll thumbs me up a lot on this video if you want to see more information on matting and framing, which I will go over. I always like to mention it because it's really important. It's a very important part of my artwork is to be able to understand matting and framing and how that kind of works with your paintings and all the different things you can do. And so that's why I mention it. Okay, so I want to mention things that are very pertinent, very important to me as a watercolor artist. I want you to have those same bits of information so that you can kind of use that for your advantage too as well as you keep working in watercolor, okay? All right, so let's come right back and we'll get our medium tonal values in, all right? Be right back. All right, so we're going to get started again, and I wanted to mention that again, we started off with like three brushes, basically. This brush here, the number 12 Da Vinci travel brush, which is pure Kolinsky natural hair brush. We use that for our first wash. You can see that this brush is quite larger than these two brushes here, as far as the brush hairs. So this one I use because it holds a lot more water and paint, and we can get that whole first wash across the whole painting really quickly. So the larger the brush you're using, the more effective you can get that first wash in. You could certainly use like a large square brush, flat brush to get all of your wash on the first go here, on the first go of your glazing technique. And then once that's done, well then now I'm going to kind of shift down to a couple other brushes that are a little smaller that are more fitting for this part of the painting. So now I'm going to start doing the medium tonal values, which is, you know, around this area here. So that fits, the brush kind of fits the area, right? So this brush kind of fits this area up here, large areas, large brush. Then as we shift down and we're doing smaller areas with smaller details, then we start shifting down to smaller brushes to get our smaller areas completed. We don't want a huge brush to do some areas that are not that big, right? And then when we're finishing up our details, maybe we're going to use our smaller number 5 Da Vinci travel brush here that came with our Schmincke palette. We might use this smaller brush to do some of the very, very fine details of the trees and things like this. So I just wanted to mention to you, brushes are important consideration as you're doing your watercolor paintings. You want to sort of use the brush that fits with the area of the painting that you're creating. And of course, this is like a 10 by 11 by 14 paper. If you're using an 18 by 24 paper, which is a pretty large sheet, 18 by 24 is a pretty good size sheet of paper, probably the whole size of this, and then like this, you know, the whole viewing here, our video camera here, the whole view of our video camera, that's probably like an 18 by 24, even a little larger than that. So that's when you're starting to break out into larger brushes even yet. You'd want to go with like large, you know, you might want to use like large square brushes like this, flat brushes like this, for a really large sheet of paper, you know. Maybe you want to use some large mop style brushes like this, and maybe like a filbert brush like this. So you got filbert brushes and mop brushes, which are quite a bit larger than your average round brush if you have a really large paper. So always remember, try to keep your brush size matched to your painting. If you're doing a very small size paper like this, so if you're doing a small painting the size of this paper, well then by golly, you're going to use small brushes like this. You know, maybe you're going to use a small brush like that. Maybe the largest you might use is something like this, right? You wouldn't use these brushes for a small sheet of paper like this. So if you're working, you know, on a postcard style painting or an occasional card painting, you're going to be working with smaller brushes. It's all kind of just a basic principle I always go by is, you know, the brush is going to be a large sheet of paper, you need larger brushes. You have a smaller sheet of paper, you're going to have smaller brushes. Simple as that. But I like to mention it, you know, just in case if you're just beginning your watercolor journey, you're just starting out and you're just, you know, welcome here. If it's your first time here watching my channel, thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. And I'm so glad you're here. You're at the right place at the right time with my channel, Chris Petri, is my name, and I want to welcome you here and thank you for coming by, and I'm glad you're joining along, and you're going to learn a lot on this channel. And again, I always mention to everybody, if you're just starting out here and maybe you're saying, oh wow, I never saw this before, watercolor is a great medium. It is, though, a very it's a medium that takes quite a while to get the hang of, but don't let that be a deterrent for you learning it. It just means that it takes a little longer because there's a lot of different things going on at one time, and you'll sort of learn all the little nuances of it as you go. So there's no way around it. It's just like if you wanted to take a trip across the United States in a car, that's like watercolor. If you're going to take a trip across the whole United States in a car, well, it's going to take some time. You're going to have to plan out your route, start out. You're going to have, a plan of action of going through all of the states and what highways you're going to take. And you got to get the feel of the roads and the weather, the different weather for the different states. When you get over to the west, it's really hot. When you're over in the east, it's really cold with snow and icy roads sometimes. You have to plan for all that. Same thing with watercolor. It's the same idea. It's kind of takes some time. And then if you stick with my channel here and you're watching along, you're going to learn all the nuances of how you're going to handle painting and watercolor. And it's just basically joining us every week as we go, week by week, month by month, and year by year. You'll keep learning all the things you need to learn to create beautiful paintings. And I've already seen many, 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 many artists send me in their paintings, pictures of their paintings online, email. A lot of artists on my channel have sent me emails with their paintings, sending me pictures, and they look phenomenal. So I know people are learning a lot, doing a great bit of work as they go through watercolors, and there's no reason why you can't do a great job and why you can't create really fantastic paintings. You're just going to stick with us here every week, month by month, year after year, and you'll definitely progress as you go. And you have to just watch a lot of videos, keep watching all of our videos. If you're too tired to paint, let's say one weekend, well, then just watch our videos or do a little sketching for 15 or 20 minutes. So you do as much work as you can do. I know some of you are very busy and you can't always do a lot of hours, towards your artwork because you have a lot of other responsibilities and other things going on in your life. But as much time as you can put in, it'll actually add up to a lot more results. So the more time you're putting in, the more quicker you're going to move through it. But you'll still make a lot of progress just by watching the videos and working along as much as you can, a little by little, and you'll be do fine. Okay. So again, now we're going to do the medium tonal values. We did the light wash first. Now we're going to stick with the same colors that we used first. We're just going to add in a darker version. This time we're adding more paint, less water. If that makes sense. Now we're adding more paint, less water. I'm not going back to the water container to add a lot of puddles like this. Purple here, like that. And then here, raw sienna, yellow ochre, raw umber, alizarin crimson, sap green. Maybe a little bit of burnt sienna in that sap green, a little bit, to warm it up a little bit. And again, we talked about this is a warm painting. Blues, but a lot of gold and orangey and red washes on this. Okay, so now we have darker colors, darker tonal values mixed. We're going to start getting in our distant buildings, which are not going to be very detailed. And I'll put some raw umber in this too. So once I get all my blues and purples in here, I add a little bit of raw umber just to give it a little bit of warm and cool feel. And then I'm just going to start going in like this. Look at this. Right across here, we're doing the distant buildings and hills and mountains and things. Have fun with this. Don't fret over it. Pick up some more paint. And again, you can see this is darker than the light wash we just did over here. So I added less water, more paint. And that's all you have to remember. And I'm going to leave the roof kind of a light color there for the light of the top of the roof. And then we're just going to go across here like so. Again, I'll leave the light of this roof over here like that. And if you go over a section or something that you think you just went over, you can blot up a little bit with some tissue. And then again, I'll pick up some of the warm, like this, warm and cool everywhere. And that's why I just did that. I wanted to add in some warm with that bluish purple that we just created there. Okay. So I hope this is really sort of coming together for you. In your mind, you're thinking, okay, wow. Okay, if I go over an area with too much paint, I can lift up. And then you can see how I did that. And then just come right down here. And that's that medium tonal value that I wanted to create. But you only have a little bit of time here to mix and mingle these colors, the warms and the cools, the purples and that's about it. You only have that much time to do this, and that's it. If you were to keep trying to mix around on this paper right here through these areas, it'll start to really get messy and really unpleasant looking. So that's why you got to try to mix up those colors again. Like we said, mix up your colors first each step of the way through the painting. So the first wash that we did, the first light glazing, we mixed up the paint colors with a little extra water and not so much a lot of thick paint. Now that we're doing this medium tonal value through this section here, which is the middle distance here, we added a little more paint but a little less water so that you have more of a thicker bit of paint in your washes here that you've pre-mixed on your palette before you start painting, and then you go in and do your colors. And again, I'm not using any new colors. I'm using all the same colors. Maybe I'll add a touch of green in here a little bit as we're getting closer to the foreground here. I might have wanted to add a little more green up in here, but that should be okay. We really have to be careful. Once you start getting a wash down, you have to let it just be alone. You cannot, what I always mention with watercolor artists, and I hope I mention this enough on my channel a lot, I hope I mention this enough so that you don't fall into the pitfall of adding water into washes you've just completed. If you keep adding washes and paint into a wash that you just completed, it'll wind up ruining that wash. So basically your idea is get the wash on the paper and then let it be, and don't go back into it. And I hope I do a good job of that here on my channel so that you don't do the same thing. I want to sort of practice what I preach, so to speak. I don't want to be telling you to do one thing and then I'm doing it. I'm telling you, to the best of your ability, try not to go back into areas you've already worked on. You want to let those areas dry. And I think that you'll have it then. You get a much better result with that kind of a game plan. Okay, so the only problem I had here right now with this wash, I don't know if you can see it, but I did paint over some areas of the roof that I wanted to leave like white paper. So in that case, once we're done with the painting and everything is dried and we're 100% complete, we'll add some white paint to some of the areas that we went over, and we'll show you how to do that at the end of the painting. Hope you're going to stick around till the end of the painting and keep working along with us here. And I always mention too, please, if you can, subscribe on the right-hand side below. All that does is keep you in contact with us here when we're making our videos. So every time I make a new video, if you're subscribed on the right-hand side below and you click that subscribe button right now, you click that button that has the subscribe next to it, then you're set. Then you'll be seeing all my videos in your YouTube channel when you open it up, and it won't give you any. It won't be a bothersome thing. You won't get any text messages or phone calls or any kind of thing like that. YouTube just makes the subscribe button. If you like my channel and you want to see more videos, when you click on the subscribe button, all that does is just let you know when my new videos are coming out. It's going to just give you an update. And when you open up YouTube next time, you'll see a little thing on the side of your YouTube channel that says, "Oh, Chris made a new video," and it'll show you the new video I've created. And that's all it does. And it's a really good thing, because if you want to keep working with us, week after week and so forth, that's the perfect way to keep in contact with us and keep working with us. And this way you don't miss out on any of the good things that we're doing here on my channel. Lots of information coming to you quickly and efficiently. And so let's not waste any more time. I'll take a break now. We'll come back and we'll do our darker final washes on top of these first two glazings as we talked about. And okay, be right back. And again, thanks for giving me the thumbs up if you want to see more information on the matting and framing ideas that I just talked about a little earlier in the video. And if you just like the video in general, please give me a thumbs up. And also, too, again, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. It's important that you keep following us here. If you want to get better at watercolor, you have to keep up on what we're doing. Okay, all right, I'll be right back. Okay, here we go again. We are actually going to do our darker washes now, our final washes. And you can kind of see the effect that we're getting now. We have those first, again, light washes on the top of the paper. Lots of water, just a little bit of paint. We mixed it up, everything first in the palette. Secondly, we did our second darker middle tones here, our middle tonal values. And we mixed that up in the palette too before we started. And we mixed the same colors that we were using in the sky and the water here on in the foreground as we did for the second darker wash here, the middle tones. So now we're going to do a combination of middle tones, but mostly dark tones now as we go and finish up the painting. So this is all dry now. You can see it's all dry. And we're going to start going with our darker darks. So the thing I will do is I will mix the same colors we had before. French ultramarine blue, cerulean blue in the middle here, and then the purple, French ultramarine violet. So we have our three blues and a purple, two blues and a purple. Okay, then I come up here and I say, what did we use up here? We use raw sienna, a little bit of yellow ochre. That's good for there. And then a little bit of alizarin crimson with maybe a little bit of yellow ochre there for the middle. More of a warmish red color. And then we had our greens, which was our sap green, and we added a little bit of burnt sienna into our sap green to make it sort of an olivey green to warm it up a little bit. There we go. So now all of our colors are set again. So we have pretty much the colors that we need to do our final washes are right now in the palette. We might add a little bit of a touch here and there, but for the most part we're all set. And then what we want to do is I want to add one more, a little bit of a darker, like a darker brown almost here to get some darker darks. I'm going to need to add a brown here with a touch of French ultramarine blue. That's going to make me a really good dark there. I need a few really dark darks. So that's going to be fine. Okay, so now you see I just added the other colors that we used the whole time right here, good. And then I just added some burnt umber and French ultramarine blue up here just to get a little bit of a darker dark. And so now what I can do is I'll start to go in from this side over this way with some of my darker darks. And I think what I'll do is I'll add some darker darks over here like so. So they're not going to be everywhere. They're just going to be some, I guess I want to add some bits of darker darks here and there. Like that. Okay, so I just wanted to start out with some really nice darks, but just a few bits here and there. I wouldn't go with a lot. This is where most of the painting is going to be. Most of the painting is light lights, and then we're going to have quite a bit of middle tonal values, middle tones like this, and then we're just going to have a little bit of the dark darks. So if you can imagine, that's a pattern that we're looking for. And if you look at my book, my brand new book that I've just created, you'll see how I explain in my book how you can create light and dark patterns in your painting to make it look really beautiful. And so I explain that in my book. If you want to check out down below in the comment section, you'll see I have my book listed there. You can just click on the link to Amazon. You can pick up my new book. And also, too, if you want, you can see on the other link below, you'll see I have a video that I just put out on YouTube. You can click on that video and you can see all the pages in my book quickly. It's like a 1-minute video where I just go through all the pages of my book. So you can kind of see exactly what you're going to get when you purchase my book. You're going to see all the paintings that are in there, all the exercises, all the information about brushes and papers and paints, and tons of great things in my book. It's really like a manual. If you're working on my videos here, it's like a manual to keep with you when you're working on my videos, because you'll be able to kind of like reference it all the time as far as like what brushes am I using, what colors, all these different things. So hope you'll pick it up. It's a great way to kind of keep up with what we're doing here on my channel. Great way to support my channel and my work too as an artist. It costs a lot of money to create videos and time and effort. So we have to support our artists. And then, all right, so we could see we put those little bits of punctuation of darks. And then we're going to do some darker darks over here too. Now I'm going to start, since we're here in the foreground, closest to us, you're going to see a little more of the details here. Some more of the grasses and things. And you can always incorporate like a smaller brush if you want to. Like this is a needlepoint brush. You can take a needlepoint brush, which is a very, very fine pointed brush. You can kind of see how pointy that is, a needlepoint brush. And you can just start adding in a couple little details here and there. You could also use it over here too for some other. I wouldn't do too many details though here in the middle distance. Usually when I do details, I just rest my hand on the paper and then just kind of flick the brush like this. Rest my hand on the paper and do a couple. And then I might even take a little bit of extra bit of water and do a couple splashes. You can always do a little bit of finger painting too. You can add some extra interesting effects with a little bit of tapping with your fingers in your paint if you don't mind that. And then you can just, you have a tissue, you can wipe your hands off on a tissue, or you can get one of those containers of, wipes and stuff like that. So if you don't want to get paint too much on your hands, you can wipe off quickly with some of the cleaning towelettes and things like that. If you don't want to get too much paint on your hands, I can understand that. Okay, so now you see I'm kind of developing the darker darks here. And again, we kind of were mentioning that I did have an issue over here with the paper getting discolored somehow, some way. Don't know what happened there. Okay, so now I'm going to start making some parallel lines like this across the paper, where all the grasses and weeds and marshes and things over here are by the water. And again, I was sort of thinking that this is more like an area where there's like boathouses and a marina with like places for boats to be repaired and all kinds of interesting things like that. So that's what I was thinking when I was creating this, and I was sort of enjoying the fun of it all, creating things, by imagination. And then just adding in some greens here a little bit. And you can kind of Mix in some blues too and purples with this water. And you can just take some of these things here that you've painted in, these darks, and you can kind of mirror them down into the water, reflections, like that. You can take some of those darks and kind of reflect them down in the water, like here and there. Just a little bit. Make some more. French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, like that. If it's water, it's going to reflect, put some reflections in the water. Like that. Then you just add some extra water in there. You could lift up here and there a little bit if you need to. Okay, we're going to put some tree limbs, so that's what I'm just going to do very carefully. So you can see I'm just doing these fun. I'm resting my hand and arm on the paper, and I'm just kind of moving my brush up like this. Very free, very fun, carefree. Don't try to stress too much over this. Get these in real easy, like that. Maybe add in some more burnt umber up here. Burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, a little bit of burnt sienna maybe. Add in a little more dark to that. And a little more sap green over here with some burnt sienna. Now I'm going to start adding in a little bit of the extra water here because I want to get this here like this. There we go. Some really fun washes here. Again, more sap green over here. Burnt umber. And we'll just get that little bit of outcropping here. And then a little bit of darks here. Burnt sienna, add some burnt sienna to there, and then maybe add a little more green here. So you're just taking this and reflecting it down into the water. So if you have basically like a triangle shape up here, then your triangle shape is going to go the opposite direction. Can you kind of see how I'm doing that? So I just make a triangle shape this way. And then the reflection in the water is going to be the opposite, so the triangle is going to go this way. So you get like a point like this, this, and this. A couple splashes like that. And as you can see, we're really coming along beautifully. We have the lighter tonal values all in, then our medium tonal values back here, the more distant hills and the distant buildings, the boathouses and the marina areas back here. And then now we're working on the darker darks over here. So you can see that we've kind of got a really nice mixture of darks, medium tones, and lots of lights. And that looks good. Some greens like that. Okay. Don't worry about some drips and things. They look fine in watercolors. If you're doing oil painting or acrylic painting, drips and little spots and bits of splashes aren't going to look good with oil paintings or acrylics. But if you do them in watercolors, they look beautiful. Okay, so never worry about that. And it even works out for your advantage. If you're a watercolor artist, don't worry about it because they look good in your watercolor paintings. And sometimes they happen, you didn't mean to do it. You might have smudged something or you put a spot or a droplet of water somewhere on your painting, but you just let it go, leave it be. It looks good, actually. So don't worry about those little spots and bits of splashes and things. They look good in watercolor. And so now you can kind of see we have everything pretty much coming along beautifully. We're just going to add maybe some more darker darks, burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. We'll load up our needlepoint brush here, and we'll just start to get this in here. This gorgeous, some branches here, some limbs and branches and things like this. Let's let this one go right off the page, right up top like this. All right, see how good that looks? And you can use this beautiful needlepoint brush to get those final, really, really nice, thin, fine lines to round out your painting. Look how good that looks. All right, now we ask ourselves, what should we do next? Well, we should do a little bit of shadowing in these buildings here in the foreground. So I'll use some cool and warm. There we go. And some warm too, quickly in there. Same thing here. I'm even just using some of the paint. There we go. See, I'm just using the paint that's already there to get that roof and that wall in for that building. And I am really thinking this looks good. All right, I think we are really coming along. I think we're almost 100% complete. Only thing left, I would say, is let's let this dry 100%. And when we do that, when we let this dry 100%, when we let this dry 100%, then if anything, couple nail scratches. Okay, once we have this all dry 100%, I think we're going to add some leaves on some of these trees, a little bit of foliage on the trees. That would look good, I think. And then also, too, we'll fix up these rooftops with a little bit of white paint. I think we went over some of these roofs with that middle tone here. So you can see some of my rooftops over here don't look correct. So we'll fix that next, and I think that'll be it. So we'll let this dry, and we'll be fine. Maybe we will take our brush one more time with some purple and blue, and just maybe do a little bit of water like that. A little bit over here. Then I'll take my water container, and I'll just get some fresh, clean water. And you can also do this too. You could take a brush like this, like a flat brush like this, fresh, clean water. And just kind of drag it along here like this. That will give you the feeling of water. If you could take a flat brush and just go across. Got to be careful though, you don't want to do too much. But you can see how I get that effect. Okay. All right, let's let this dry. We'll come back, finish up the final details, and we'll have a completed painting. All right, so we're going to go back to our original brush that we started with, which is the large Da Vinci travel brush, Kolinsky hair brush, round brush, and we're just going to put just a tiny bit of foliage on the trees here. So I think the best thing to do is add some raw sienna over here. A little bit of that green. So a green and some raw sienna, light, light, light. And then a touch of cerulean blue too, to make it a warm and cool type of wash. And then you just get your brush, load up some of that color, dry off a little bit of that paint and water on a tissue, and then just do some circular motion like this. Okay, it's not dark enough. It needs to be a little darker. So let's go in raw sienna. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre would work. That looks good. Yeah, yellow ochre would be a little better. So yellow ochre and raw sienna. And again, dry off a little bit of the paint and water on a brush, on a tissue. And then do a circular here and there, not everywhere, like this. Like that. How does that look? Pretty good. A little bit here and there, but not everywhere. Okay, maybe we need a little thicker paint. A little more thicker paint. Yep, I think that's what we needed. A little bit of thicker paint though. But not too much, right? You're leaving lots of clear paper behind this. You don't want to make a big giant blotch of tree leaves. You want them to have little tiny bits of tree leaves in here and have lots of places for the birds to fly through, right? See that? If we are creating some leaves on our trees. Let's make sure we think about the birds and that they need to fly through there too. They're going to have to go on their way and have fun and fly around. So if we leave some room for them, they can cruise right on through there. And I think that looks plenty good. All right, so I hope you've had a lot of fun here on this video. And we do have to do one more thing. We have to go in. We'll get our smaller round brush here. And we'll take a fresh tissue here. We'll dry off our brush. Then we're going to find our white paint. Let me find my white paint. Okay, so we have our titanium white. We have a tube of titanium white. A tube of titanium white. And then what we do is we go in and we get some raw sienna and yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is fine. And we put a little bit of that yellow ochre into the tippy top of the the titanium white paint. And that's enough warm paint, just a tiny bit of it in the white tube, that's going to give us the white color we need that has that little bit of warm color to it. And then what we'll do is we're going to come over here where we kind of had a problem with our rooftops. So there we go. Okay, that's fine. That one there is kind of behind the trees, so we don't have to worry about that one. Then this one here, we're going to go across here with our roof. Like that. See that? We thought we had a problem before with painting over our rooftop, but now we realize, no, we didn't have a problem. We'll come right back in this painting with our gorgeous white paint like that. And wow, look at this too. Our trees covered up over here, our other issue that we had. And then we can just put that over here. Okay. There we go. Okay, and then I think the only other thing I can see right now is I meant to put some color in this here. This is actually the gable end of the roof, like that. So that needs to be in shadow. So the light's coming from this way across the picture this way, for the most part. Kind of like, I think the sunlight is coming high in the sky across the picture. So all the tops of this roof here are bright light, bright light, bright light, bright light over here. And that's basically all we needed to kind of really key in on as far as our rooftops. We wanted those rooftops to be really bright and light, well lit. And other than that, I think it looks really fine. It looks beautiful, lots of beautiful colors, lots of light. We have our game plan we set out was really mostly a lot of bright lights in the picture, and then quite a bit of medium tonal values all through here, the tree foliage here, the bits of grass and weeds and shadows and reflections here. And then we have just a little bit of the dark darks, which are the bushes, some of the trees in the background over here, and some of the limbs and branches and twigs and trunks of the trees. So that kind of really looks like a really pleasant looking painting. And again, I always mention to you, if a part of the painting doesn't come out good, you don't have to worry. You can also, again, trim it down, crop it down. You know, you can crop down your paintings like this, like that. You can spin them around. You can take your, like this, you can take your, so you can really have a lot of fun with moving around a mat to see what looks good. If you have a couple problems in your painting somewhere, you just crop them out, let's say I had a really bad problem over here where I make a whole bunch of problem mistakes on my colors over here and my washes, well, then I can just cover it like that and just keep this side of the painting over here like that. All right, so we've had fun. We've enjoyed ourselves. Again, please subscribe on the right-hand side if you haven't subscribed. You know, it's toward the end of the video now. Maybe you're more like you're putting your brushes down and kind of cleaning up and stuff and straightening up. Perfect time to subscribe on the right-hand side below. Again, thumbs up if you really like this video. If you won't like these videos, I'll do more like this, landscapes and beautiful glazing techniques that we're doing here. And other than that, I'm hoping that you're going to have great success with your paintings. Please keep joining along with us here. We're working every week, week after week, and month after month, and we just keep going and going. All right, so see you on the next video. Happy painting, everybody.